My name is Pooja Sinha, and I am the Product Marketing Manager at Gorbel Rehabilitation. And I am coming to you from my home, like many of us are nowadays, being remote with everything that's happening in the world. And the reason I'm making this video is because one of the things that I'm very passionate about outside of work is meditation. And I was asked by the rehab team, since we've created this great resource of home exercise videos for patients and caregivers and PTs to be able to leverage with their patients that aren't able to come in anymore, if there was any way to do something with meditation. And my hope is that this will absolutely help patients and PTs, as well as internal Gorbel teams who are working remotely and who I know we are out of our daily routine and our structure, and it's a time of stress and anxiety. And so I make this video in hopes that you'll all find it beneficial on some level. The first thing I want to do is address some misconceptions about meditation. The very first being that you have to clear your mind. It's not possible. I'm going to walk you through a guided practice, and I'm going to teach you a breathing technique. But in that, I will never ask you to clear your mind. All I'm going to ask you to do is focus on your breath. I've been meditating for 10 years, and I still have intrusive thoughts in my meditation. It's about focusing your attention and your awareness on something else. So if other thoughts come in, let them. That's okay. And the other thing I wanted to say was that often people assume that meditation is tied to a spiritual practice or a religious belief system. And that's not always true. My personal practice is based in my spirituality. But what I'll be teaching you today is just a breathing technique and exercise. And there is a mountain of clinical evidence that actually talks about how beneficial just meditation from a breathing perspective is for your brain and your body and your nervous system. And it can lead to benefits from reducing your blood pressure, reducing cortisol levels, and also just leading to a place of greater presence and clarity on the other side of a practice. And so I just want to make sure that you understand those two things before we jump in. So the first thing I want us to do is check in with our breath. And a wonderful way to do that is to assess how we're breathing by placing one hand on our chest and one hand on the upper stomach. And just breathe. Just notice your breath. As you're noticing it, pay attention to which hand on your body is moving. Is it the hand that's on your chest or the hand that's on your belly? Or both? And the reason we do this is to understand where we are at a baseline. Because the objective of meditated breathing and diaphragmatic breathing is to push air into the fullness of our lungs and push the diaphragm where the stomach actually expands and comes out. And the benefit of that from the clinical perspective is actually all in this beautiful nerve called the vagus nerve. It's the 10th cranial nerve. It's named after the vagabond. And it's wandering. So it was only just discovered within the last 10 years or so. And it goes from the brainstem through your lungs, touching all of the organs in your digestive system. And basically it has fibers that carry a signal. 80% of the fibers of the vagus nerve carry the signal from the body, from the state of the body, the digestive system, the gut, the breathing, back up to the brain, signaling the brain on the state that you're in. And the vagus nerve actually governs fight or flight. and it governs our stress response. It governs our sympathetic nervous system. And so it's called the rest and digest system. And what you're doing when you take a deep belly breath is you're activating those fibers in the stomach and through the diaphragm and the lungs to say the body is relaxing. We can send down the relaxation neurotransmitters, and that signal goes up to the brain, and then the brain releases serotonin and the other things that relax the body and put you in a more at ease state. And that's why it's very important for us to baseline how we're breathing and then learn to push the air into the fullness of our stomachs and into the fullness of our lungs so that we get the benefit of that vagus nerve feeding the right information back to the brain saying we're okay to relax. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to teach you a breathing technique that we will use in the guided practice that I'm going to walk you through. So it's called alternate nostril breathing, and you've learned about what we're doing with the diaphragmatic breathing and making sure you get a nice deep belly breath, and that is always there for you as a tool, and so is this next technique. So now we're going to send a signal from the brain down to the body, and how that works is we're going to breathe in, we're going to take our finger and plug one side of our nose, and we're going to breathe in the open side. Pause, plug the open side, and breathe out the other side. We're going to breathe in again from the open side. Pause and breathe out. And what that technique is doing is it's equalizing the activity in either hemisphere of the brain. So our brains are amazing, and the two hemispheres are firing electrical activity at different rates, at different speeds. Both sides of our brains are lit up at different times, and the synapses are going nuts. So what this technique does is it starts to equalize the activity in both hemispheres. And that puts us in an alpha state of awareness. So what that means is our brain waves are measured. There's alpha, beta, gamma, theta. And for the most part, our waking hours are spent in beta. It's a frequency, and it's how we get our work done. It's how we get, our household things managed. It's all of those pieces that come together in beta. Alpha is usually when you're just waking up or when you're just falling asleep. Theta is deep, deep sleep. And gamma is a state we visit once in a while. We won't go into all the other states. If this video becomes popular, maybe I'll do another one that talks about that. But our goal is to put ourselves in a relaxed state, put our nervous system into a relaxed state. So when you do that, you actually put yourself into an alpha state. And the longer you practice that, if you practice for 1 to 3 minutes, maybe up to 5 minutes, you'll be in an alpha state of awareness. If you start to practice longer than that, that is when you will touch the deeper states, which is the theta, where it's really slow. And those are states that long-time meditators can get to. And it's just a way to ease the nervous system and really tap into that inner stillness, that inner peace. So I'm just going to take a moment for us to practice that alternate nostril breathing technique a few times before we jump into the full guided practice. So remember, breathe in the open side. Pause, breathe out. Pause. In the open side. Pause, plug, breathe out. Pause, plug. And you'll notice that I'm plugging my nose right over the nostril. I'm not up here, I'm not further, I'm just on the nostril itself. That's the most comfortable place to be doing that practice. So now we will go into a few minutes of a guided technique. So I'd like you to sit comfortably in your seat, ideally with your feet on the floor, if you can do that, flat on the floor, and with your back straight, comfortable but straight. I don't want you straining your body in any way, but if you can keep a straight, dignified posture, try that and be comfortable as you're doing it. So now I'm going to ask you to gently close your eyes and just become aware of the sounds in your environment. Depending on when you're doing this, you may hear other people in your home talking. You may hear music from another room. You may hear the TV, cars outside, birds. And just allow all of these sounds to be in your space with you. Accept them, be at peace with them. They're a part of this experience. Now, keeping your eyes closed, bring your awareness to your toes. And just wiggle your toes a little bit. Maybe curl them and let them out. Just feel your feet and your toes. And feel your feet resting, the 4 points of your feet resting on the floor below you. The weight of your legs going into the heel of your foot. And now bringing your awareness up through your ankles, through your legs, to your knees, through your knees, up through the thighs, and pause for a moment at your hips. Just feel your weight resting in your chair. Our hips can be a place of tension and stress in our bodies. Just rock gently side to side once or twice. Feel your muscles expand and contract as you do that. And imagine removing the stress and tension from your hips like removing a belt. Let it fall away from your hips. Breathe into your hips. Feel yourself relax. Now bringing your awareness to the base of your spine. Follow your spine through the small of your back, up through the curve of your ribs, and pause for a moment at the base of your neck. Become aware of your shoulders and just gently shrug up and down a few times. Roll each shoulder front and back, feeling your muscles expand and contract. And let your shoulders rest in a relaxed state. And now bringing your awareness into your neck. Gently turn from shoulder to shoulder. Feeling your neck muscles expand and contract. Gently nod yes and no, taking your chin to the ceiling and down to your chest. And now Now bring your awareness to your breath. Let's take a deep breath together through the nose and exhale to the mouth. On your exhale, make the ha sound. Let's do that 2 more times. Now we'll go into our alternate nostril breathing practice. Keeping your eyes closed, gently bring your fingers up to your nose. Plugging one nostril, breathe in. Pause, breathe out. Breathe in. Plug that nostril, pause, breathe out. And let's just practice 10 cycles. We're on cycle 2. Breathe in. Pause, breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And if you're on a different rhythm, that is okay. Just count 10 cycles at your own pace. And if your mind starts to wander, just bring your awareness back to your breath, back to the practice. And once you finish the 10 cycles, just pause and rest in the stillness. When you're ready, take a deep breath and gently begin to open your eyes. this practice is available to you anytime, any day. It's actually a great practice if you're having trouble falling asleep to do just as you're laying in bed. And I hope you found it beneficial. I highly encourage that if you've been able to do the practice for 10 breaths and you're feeling a little bit of quiet and stillness in your body and your mind, give yourself a soft landing into the world of activity again. Don't just open up your email immediately and start, going back to work immediately. You've just introduced a degree of quiet into your nervous system, and so relish in that for a moment or two. This can be a great time to reflect on things you're grateful for. It can be a great time to, if you're religious, pray for people. Personally, I usually get my soft landing by reading one of my favorite spiritual texts or reflecting on a passage that I really like, reading it and then sort of giving myself a gentle way into activity. It's also a great place to set an intention for the rest of your day, for the next hour. What are you trying to accomplish? And how are you going to feel doing those things? And so I hope this practice was very helpful and you find it beneficial. And whether you're a patient, whether you're a PT, whether you're internal at Gorbel, I wish you some moments of stress-free, anxiety-free time as we're all going through this together. And Gorbel is also here for you. So thank you, and I hope you found it meaningful.